listening to The Motherhood Experience, a podcast where you are part of the conversation with moms, for moms, and by moms. Let's jump into this episode with me, your host, Val Kleppen. Hello, friends. How are you doing? How are you doing this week? It's been a week. You know what I'm saying? But I am so thrilled to be able to bring this episode to you. Such a great, enlightening, inspiring, fun conversation with my guest, Kalee Isbell. We're going to get into that here shortly. First, I would just like to ask you, wherever you are listening to the Motherhood Experience podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. Those reviews are so valuable, so very valuable. And I just appreciate so much, especially when the reviewers leave such positive, promoting comments. Those make my day. Sometimes I forget that I'm supposed to look for those and keep an eye out for those, kind of keep tabs on my abilities as a podcast host. But whenever I do remember and I read those reviews, it's so encouraging. And thank you so very much. Friends, today's guest, Kalee Isbell, this mama in the entrepreneur world, and a unique story in the motherhood world as well. You will hear her exciting announcement about motherhood and just about this business that kind of birthed from an emotional necessity of how she encouraged herself and kind of crawled out of the depths of feeling like a failure mom. This whole conversation was so rich. I feel like I talked a lot. And so, Kalee, you were such a genuinely enjoyable guest. I'm sorry if I monopolized our conversation, but it was so much fun hearing what she's done, what she has created, what she can help you create as a listener. And I am so blessed to have had this time to sit down with her. You're going to enjoy it. I know you are. Be sure to check the show notes because all of the links and ways to get in touch with Kalee are listed there. And I just want to encourage you, document, document, document. If you have no idea what I'm saying, you will soon find out, because here now is my conversation with Kalee Isbell. Well, welcome everyone back to another episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast, where I am so thrilled to be joined by Kalee Isbell. Kalee, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm really excited to do this today.
I'm so glad. And we have a lot to get to, I think, based on the little that I know. So let's get into age of kids and stage of motherhood you're in.
Yeah, I have a 9-year-old son and an almost 8-year-old daughter. They're 20 months apart, and we're pregnant with our third. So I'm in 2 different stages of motherhood. I feel like if I just had my 2, I'm in the middle child age, which I love. Yeah. But, we're going to start back over in November. So that will be a redo for us.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. So already there's so much I want to dive into. Let's start, though, with kind of when you were growing up, what were your views on motherhood? What were your expectations of what role that would have in your own life?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I grew up the oldest of 4 kids with lots and lots of cousins. So I grew up around babies and kids all the time. I always wanted to be a mom. That was always in my, goal to grow up, get married and have kids. I always wanted to have a lot of kids. And then I had my first 2 and I said, no more after that. They broke me a little bit at the beginning. And I had them very young too. And so I think that played a role in that. But yeah, I always, being a mom was always in my plans and in my, hopes and dreams. And I do feel really, really thankful for it, even though there's lots of times when I didn't, at the same time, right? Both things are true. But yeah, it was always kind of in my dream for my life.
So did your mind change, or did the circumstance change that you will just be welcoming your third now 8 years later?
I think both. My husband and I were 25 when we had our first, which looking back, you feel very old when you're 25 and you're not old when you're 25. And then we had our daughter when I was 27. And so, I was just not prepared for how hard being a mom was going to be. And we had those two, and we were like, we're good. We're also super poor. Like, we can't do this anymore. And, we felt pretty happy with what we had. But there's always that kind of like, oh gosh, if we could just have one more, like one more would be great. And then we had COVID, and then my son went off to kindergarten, and it was all these things where it was like, oh, we don't really need a third. Like, we're good, we're good, we're good. But now they're both so settled and busy doing their things. And I'm still 34. Like, I don't consider myself, old yet. And so
Right.
it's like, let's try this having a baby thing when we're more settled and financially settled. And so, both. I think our minds, like, we felt more confident, and then the circumstances of, like, we felt like I felt like I had a good grasp on my, motherhood, I guess, plans and strategy, right, of how to handle three kids better than I did, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah. Well, so this, maybe you don't have an answer and you can just tell me to move on. But do you feel like it's kind of an open door to maybe family 2.0, where this third child should have a sibling close in their age? So 4 is in the
Oh,
mix.
yeah, no, that's a good question. No, this will be it. Only because I already did the 2 under 2 thing, and
Sure.
I know what that's like, and I under no circumstances want to do that again. So our thought is, like, this will just be the baby, and they will be spoiled rotten, and it will be fine, and they'll be okay. And my husband, he's the youngest with a huge age gap in his brothers. And so we have that perspective, and he loved growing up with them all off to college, and he finally got his time, right? Because he spent most of his childhood underneath his brother's shadows. So yeah, no, I think this will be it, and it'll just be a baby with 4 parents, probably. That's what's
Yeah.
gonna happen.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yes.
What was the reaction, or have you told your kids yet?
We did tell them, yes. They've spent a long time asking for a sibling. But my my son, he's a no holds barred kind of guy. Like, he just tells it like it is. So when we told them, his immediate reaction was, "Oh no!" Like, he has no filter at all. So he was disappointed. But my daughter, who's the younger one, was just ecstatic. Like, she's just beside herself. So they've been holding on to the secret, and they actually get to go to school today and tell all their friends. So they're just like jumping out of their
Oh,
skin. My son has come around to the to the idea,
yeah.
but no, they were excited about it.
Yeah, he just needed some time. And
Yes,
that might be a
it's a shock.
firstborn thing.
Yeah.
I can't stand for things to stay the same, but I only want them to change on my terms.
Right. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
Exactly
Yeah.
right.
Wow. So your kids are in school. I mean, 9 and 8, it's kind of an interesting stage of motherhood because they're very much their own people, but they're
Yeah.
also still pretty dependent on you.
Yeah.
How have things shifted in your household from them entering into this stage right now and not being so needy and cuddly maybe, but still being so sweet and innocent?
Yeah, it is an interesting phase because you also really struggle with, like, where to push them and where to still keep them little. Like right now, the big thing is, like, do we still do we still do the whole bedtime routine, or when are they old enough to say, go off to bed, good night, we'll see you in the morning, right? Like, it is you do feel like you've got a foot in both worlds kind of situation. And they're getting exposed to things at school that you're having to have discussions about. But then my daughter will still come home and watch, like, animated TV shows, right? And it's like, it's just such a dichotomy of childhood. I really like it because you can have really great conversations with them. They have really intense opinions, but they can express them in a calm manner. They're not a 2-year-old rolling around on the floor that they don't want to. You didn't open their cheese stick the right way, kind of thing, But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just kind of figuring it out as I'm going, and using all of my friend resources of friends who have kids older than us. And I'm like, what do you do? Right? Like, when
Yeah.
did you say this? Or I'll text my neighbor and say, would you email the teacher about this? What would you do if you were me? Kind of thing. I feel like I'm reaching out more now in this phase of motherhood than I ever did when they were when they were little. It's like I need more advice now
Yeah.
than before.
That's an interesting perspective. And I wonder if do you think it has something to do with when you are a young mom and you've got little babies that you don't really have the capacity to know to ask for help? Or are you just trying to save face so much that you won't ask for help?
Yeah, I think for me, my own personal self, I had a lot of pride, right? Like I was like, I've got this under control. I'm fine. I don't need any help. I needed a lot of help, but I didn't think I needed any help. And also, you know, I hate to say this, but sometimes I think babies are just easier. Like you're tired and there's a lot to worry about with them. Like they're sick, or is one of the diaper enough? You know, like there's all these little things, but it's not, sometimes it doesn't feel as big as now, where you're like trying to mold them into a responsible human who's going to make good choices and be a kind friend and be respectful at school. So it almost feels like there's more weight now in every decision that I make rather than when they were babies. And it was like, well, can they skip their nap? I don't know. Kind of, right. Like those decisions didn't weigh as much as they do now. But I think that's more of a perspective of, I can look back on it and know that those aren't that big of a deal. They felt like a really big deal then, right, when they were little. But I think I just have the perspective of time to look back and be like, yeah, that's such a small problem, right? But it feels big. So.
And such an insightful answer too. And I appreciate, I'm putting you on the spot this whole time, basically. Just whatever comes to mind comes out. But I think that was a really insightful answer and shows kind of the evolution of your own motherhood. Like you're learning right along with them.
Yeah.
Right. And then at first it's kind of, you want to make it easiest on yourself, but then when they're the baby, but then as time goes on, you're like, I want to make this the best possible for their sake, for their future, for their
right.
outcome.
Even if it's really uncomfortable and really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm more willing now to make the hard, uncomfortable decisions for them than I was, back then.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you were that young mom, were you and your husband both working? What was time in the house like?
Yeah. So my husband was a pastor. He had a job change when I was pregnant with my daughter. So he went from like the most flexible job in the world to working 10-hour days, 5 days a week. That was hard in and of itself. He went into like a sales job. I was a teacher, but I worked at a school that was only part-time. It was like the best situation for me ever. They only were in class 3 days a week. And then my students were, and then they were homeschooled two days of the week. So I would only go into school Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I'd be home with my kids on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So we kind of just had to we found like a nanny to come to our house and watch them. So I was super available for our kids, but my husband was not. And I think that was part of why that time of that transition of 1 to 2 kids was so hard for us, is because we went from basically 2 parents at home all the time to 1 parent at home all the time. And it was a big adjustment for our family.
Yeah. I can't relate entirely, but also I can.
Yeah.
I will just say that I know that single parenting is not my spiritual gift, is what I would say.
No, I'm not a good mom by myself.
Yeah. This is essentially phase 2.0, and you're going to kind of be starting over. What does your situation look like now with you and your husband working and your kids in school? What will that be?
Yeah, so my husband still works. He has a completely different job now, but he works. He's got a flexible job. It's great. He can work from home 1 to 2 days a week. I work from home full time. We also live now. We moved in the middle of all of, like, when my kids were young, back to my husband's hometown where his entire family lives. So we went from having no family support to having a ton of family support. So this experience now with our third, I'm probably not even going to recognize it. Like, it's going to just be a completely different life for us. It's just going to be, we have 2 older kids that we're carting around to baseball and swim practice all the time, right? Like, that'll be the new addition to it. But I'm like, just the depth of gratitude I have for our current work situation is beyond, because it's going to make it a lot easier for us, which is so helpful.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're working at home, which I'm assuming means you are not teaching anymore.
Right.
So what is it that you do?
I own a video editing company. It's called Isbell Family Films, and we take all of the videos that families take on their iPhones and turn them into like modern family home movies. So, back in the 90s and the 2000s, we used to watch long form home videotapes all the time that our parents
Yeah.
walked around with their big camcorders. That doesn't happen anymore. Now we have 1,000, 10,000, 20,000 videos that we're scrolling on our phone that we lose track of. And so our company takes those, compiles them into a viewable format set to music. We pick out the best moments so that your family can rewatch those in however you'd like, on your TV, on your phone, like that. So I do that full time from
Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
home.
So bear with me as I sort through that. And you're saying this, and I remember as a kid, so I'm about 10 years older than you are. And I know I don't look it, but I am.
Not at all.
And I remember watching my dad's
Yeah.
home videos, on the whatever it was, the 8mm or whatever that
Mm-hmm.
thing was. And so then later on we had those set to music and moved to VHS, when
Right.
that was
Right.
new technology.
Yeah.
And I think they are on DVD now. But also, yeah, my dad had like the new size video camera that you haul around on your
Right.
shoulder, and all of my choir concerts are on there. I'm not in the frame most of the time,
Right.
but at least you can hear the songs
Yeah.
that we were singing. And did you ever watch the show The Wonder Years?
Yes, a little bit. But once I was older, like old enough to watch those types of sitcoms, I think it was like on its way out. But
Sure.
I do know that show.
So the opening credits to that show was like the
Mm-hmm.
old home video stuff. And that was always so romanticized for me. I wanted
Yeah.
that for myself, for my family, for my future,
Yeah.
And things are different now. I mean, we film things differently. But how did you decide? Because I think this is a fantastic idea. And I think that a lot of people want to do it, but of course don't have the time or the resources. So how
Right.
did you decide, like, you know what, this is a need and we're going to step in and fill that?
Yeah. How did I decide that?
Yeah.
So, when my son was in his first year of life, um, side note, well, kind of background a little bit. I'm a very creative person. Like I've always needed some kind of creative outlet to do. Like I taught myself to crochet and sew and do all of that kind of stuff. But when my son was under a year old, I decided I wanted to make a video for his first birthday. So my husband taught me how to, like, showed me on the computer, like how to do it because he was doing it for work. And we made this video for his first birthday. Oh my gosh, it was so great. I was crying. It was beautiful. Loved to watch it. He loved to watch it, right? They're so self-absorbed. And
Yeah.
it's so cute because they love themselves. And so then fast forward about another 10 months or so, and my daughter's born, and she is the worst newborn on planet Earth. Like, we used to joke, can't joke anymore, that she's the reason we'll never ever have another baby because she was terrible. Like, I love her to death. And she redeemed herself because she ended up being the best toddler on planet Earth and the best. I mean, she's just so easy to parent. But she had horrific reflux, could not lay her down. You had to hold her 24/7. I had a 20-month-old. It was just miserable. So I was like in a deep seated postpartum depression state. It was very hard. It was not sleeping. And when she was about 5 or 6 months old and kind of starting to come out of it, and I was starting to think about her first birthday video, I kind of started to edit it and compile it. And then I thought to myself, why couldn't I just do this with all of the videos that I have sitting on my phone right now? Like, why do I have to wait until my kids have a new birthday? I could just like take all these videos from January and February and put them to music and do it, right? So while my kids were napping, I made one. And it was just like, when I say it changed my life, it did, because it created this job for me and created this new outlook on motherhood, because I was so stuck in that I've ruined my son's life because I brought this terribly needy baby into his life. And now, like, I can't even be with him and give him attention. I'm a failure as a parent because my daughter is so miserable and I can't do anything to make her feel better. And I just felt so terrible, and like my life was terrible, and my kids were miserable. But then I watched that video of all of the good things I decided to record of them, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's not burning to the ground. Like, we're okay, like, wow. And it wasn't even, I think that video even was like one trip to the zoo. Um, a couple videos of my son was like obsessed with Hot Wheels, and he would just like find anything to make a ramp, and he'd like put them down the ramp over and over and over again. And like my daughter jumping in the jumper. I mean, it was like maybe 30 videos. It wasn't much at all. And it just completely transformed. Now it took time, right? I wasn't like, snap the fingers, but
Sure.
it really did transform my thought process of starting to look for things to record so that I could make another video. And then as I started to like look for all of these good things that were happening, I started to notice more good things that were happening. And it started to really just change my mentality of what my life was like. Yeah, it was really, really hard, but there was way more good in between all of the struggle that I was having. Right. And in that time, we moved and I didn't have a job. And then this opportunity just kind of fell in my lap to like make this into a business. It was a lot of pushing of my husband of like, you could do this. People want to pay for this stuff. And I'm like, no, they don't. No, they don't. And I on a whim reached out to an influencer on Instagram who was looking for someone to make a vacation video for her. And I was like, I'll do that for you. And I had no business model. I had no pricing. I had no website. I had nothing at all. And she was like, yeah, great. So I made it, sent it back to her, and had a business overnight. Like I had to come up with everything within 12 hours. And it's just been, this is year 7 or 6 now. It was in 2019. And so we've been doing that. And we've edited for over 700 families. Like the need is there, the desire is there. And we get to do that. And I say we, because I have a team of 8 other people that work with me, that we do it together. And so it's just turned into a great job. Sometimes it doesn't feel like a job, right? Because I just get to watch people's lives and compile them into like these beautiful stories for them and send them back. And so that's the long, short version of it.
And there's so much in there that answer was so rich and goes so deeper maybe than you might realize. But so I'm listening to you share this, and what I'm hearing is the most relatable thing ever, which is when you are in the thick of motherhood, and you can't see past your own crying child,
right?
It's overwhelming, the sense of failure, and shortcoming that you can feel about yourself. And this is very close to home today as we are talking about this, because, and I will tell you, I recorded I've been recording a series. So the first Tuesday of the last few months, I've been rereading columns that I used to submit a decade plus ago to the local newspaper where we used to live. And it was about my parenting, like in that day.
Oh, so interesting.
I'm rereading these columns, and I'm laughing because my perspective back then was very different on a lot of things. But I'm sobbing because I'm realizing like I am a good mom, daggum it. And these kids have a great life, and we love them so much. And then also conversely on top of that, so I recorded yesterday before you and I talked, I recorded the very last episode in that series, and I read through the last of the columns, cried so many times, had to take so many cry breaks, right? And I'm just overwhelmed with love for my kids and the blessing they are and the opportunities motherhood has given me. I walk outside that door, Kalee, and things fell apart. And then everybody was crying because mama was mad.
That's how it goes. Man, I get that.
the moment to moment. And then so
the whiplash, right? Yes. The whiplash of motherhood. Yes.
That's a good word, the whiplash. And so I love this idea and this creation that you have come up with. First of all, the fact that you have a team now, phenomenal.
Thank you.
But also that, Instagram catches a lot of flack because it's just a highlight reel, right? Nobody shares the real stuff and everything. But sometimes it's a real blessing to look back and see those highlights. And to realize you're not a failure. You're not a bad mom. There are bad moments, but that doesn't make you a bad mom.
Right. Yeah. And we need the highlights.
Yes.
I mean, imagine if we all, I don't like to idealize this job or this experience at all, because it can be very easy to. It can be very easy to say, oh, one day I did this and suddenly everything was fine. No, we're talking years of therapy, years of working on getting to the point that I am today, of coming out of where I was. And it's been a lot of hard work, and this has been a piece of that. But I found that I had to look for all of those highlights in order to not get stuck, right, in what you're saying, of those trenches of like, you can just get in that hamster wheel of this is how terrible it is. And like you said, you're feeling this way about your kids and you love them so much, and then they like my daughter yesterday took her only, I posted about this on my Instagram feed, took her only pair of tennis shoes that she has left that fit her. I'm not buying her a new pair of tennis shoes before we have 2 weeks left of school, right? Like, and she tromps through the mud, covers them, Nikes, like nice shoes, covers them with mud. And I'm like, oh my God, but I could have like made a video of our family right before that and just been like feeling so much, and then walked out the door and been like, right at her. But if
Yes,
I
I know.
sat in that anger all the time, I would just get stuck there, right? And you're right, we have to, Instagram does get a bad read about that, but there's also so many positive things about highlighting all of that good stuff about our lives. It makes us feel good, it makes our kids feel good. And I think also it kind of gives other people things to think about for their own families, right? Like, oh, look, they went to the zoo. We could go to the zoo. I could manage that. I could do that too, right? And encouraging other people along the way.
Yeah. So, so good. And I really hope that the listeners right now are just kind of reflecting on this. And if you're having a bad day, or even if you're not, you're going to,
Yeah,
don't stay there.
right.
There is a highlight reel.
Yeah. Scroll through your phone.
Life.
I'll just like start scrolling through. I'll pick a year and I'll just start watching some videos of my kids when they're little. Like at least that's my way to kind of get myself out of whatever funk I'm feeling about being a parent at that moment in time.
So let me ask you this too, for my own curiosity's sake. In my day, when we took our film to the developer and had to wait 7 to 14 days for it to come back, and we didn't know if the pictures would turn out or and then sometimes, especially as a young adult, I'll say I would get pictures back and be like, I really hope they were not paying attention when they developed this. Like, this is a little embarrassing. And this picture is going to go straight into the garbage. Do you get video submissions where you're like, we're just going to pretend we didn't see that?
You know what? No, we don't, which is wild, because people ask that question a lot. Like friends of mine will ask, like, have you ever gotten anything bad? Never. Now, I mean, the work, like, and this isn't even bad, but like, we'll get like a mom snapping at her kid, right? Or like, she'll be like snapping at another child behind her and trying to record this child in front of her, kind of thing. Like, stop it, I'm trying to take a video, kind of thing.
AKA real life.
Yeah, exactly. But no, we really don't. And we mute those. Like, the video's still cute, so I'll turn it down and so you don't hear mom. But yeah, no. And we get a lot of funny things. And every year I compile all of the bloopers that we get into like an Instagram reel and all of those. Like today I was editing a video and the baby's like going down a slide and he gets to the very bottom and he's there for like half a second and then he goes and falls face down into the dirt. So he was fine. He didn't cry or anything. But so we'll compile those. We get lots of funny things. But yeah, no, we've never gotten anything. Knock on wood. Too bad.
Yeah. And are there things that you receive and that you edit where you're like, this is so inspiring and such a good idea, I want to do this with my family?
Oh yeah, all the time. I mean, yeah, I was trying to think of like a specific example. One isn't coming to mind right now, but there's a lot of, we do a lot of travel. That's always really inspiring to like see where people go. There's just watching how people interact with their families. Like this isn't necessarily inspiring for me, but like this comes to mind for this, but there's this one family that we've edited for since the very, very beginning. And the way that her husband looks at their children that she catches sometimes on video, it makes me cry every single time. And I think we're on like video 70 or something for them, but like she'll capture, like, he has just this such loving, longing look for them. And there's so many times I've been like calling my husband over, like, come look at this video. Now he loves our kids very much and he looks at them the same way. I just don't catch it, right? But I always make him look at it like, look how adorable this dad is looking at his sons. Like, it's just so cute. So there's times like that are just really they just touch you and they're just so special. And there's so many moments of like families where the baby's born and now the baby's going to kindergarten, or they've added to their family over the years. Like one family, when we started editing for them, had one child and now they have 4, so you just get to watch their family grow. And like it's just special. It's just a really unique privilege that we have and an honor. And I always tell my team that of like, this is such a privilege to be let into these people's lives. Like, I don't know if I would be willing to give my camera roll over to a bunch of strangers. But people do. And I'm always just so thankful that they trust us with those things.
And is it just videos or is it still shots as well?
No, we can do photos too. It just depends on what they want. GoPro, we'll take the old camcorders that people are now digitizing. We'll take those and condense them all down into something more watchable. Anything that can be digitized, we can turn into it.
Yeah. But your comment about condensing them down and making them more watchable, there is a home video from my childhood that my sister and I still talk about 30 plus years later, where Dad had just got, I told you, the giant camcorder, and he had just gotten it that year, like that summer or something. And so it's Christmas time, and my sister and I made gingerbread houses out of graham crackers and frosting and candy. And Dad is just filming the gingerbread house and filming and filming and filming, like turning the plate slowly to get every angle,
Right.
And you hear my sister in the background go, "You think you got enough of that, Dad?"
Right, exactly. We don't need all that.
So condensing that to make it more watchable, that's a great thing. What would you say, though, to the mom maybe who's listening, who's like, I have photos and I have videos, but they're not of anything special or noteworthy or anything like that. I don't need to do this.
Yeah, no. That's a very common fear. And we all are in the camp of like, everything is noteworthy. If you took a video of it, if you took a photo of it, it's important to you. And that makes it important to us. And that makes it worthy of preserving and remembering and keeping. In my opinion, there is zero reason that we should not all have printed out photos, photo books, multiple viewing formats of our videos. Like, we need ways, especially in this like digital maximizing age that we're in, to enjoy what we have in front of us, right? And like, I don't know about you, and maybe this is kind of like a foreshadowing into what I would become. But like, as a child, my mom would keep all of our printed photos in like just a huge plastic tub, like the 20-gallon ones, and they would just all be in there. And I would just spend hours looking through those photos. Like, they weren't organized or anything, but I would spend all this time looking through these photos of my family. And like, my hope is that families now, whether they use our service or they figure out how to do this on their own, that they can give that to their kids and themselves, right? Like, there's so much value and richness and love to be found in looking at all of the good stuff about your life. And there's actually studies that show that when kids have printed out media of themselves or accessible media of themselves, it actually increases their self-confidence, their self-worth, their self-value, and their feeling of belongingness in their family. And so, long way to answer that is, it's not worthy, right? It is all worth doing something with, because it makes your kids and you feel, special and important and valued.
Yeah, such a great answer. And we are in a generation where some kids will never see a printed picture.
Yeah.
A 4x6, 3x5, like I said, we used to drop our film off.
Yeah.
And
at Walmart or wherever and go pick it back up.
We always got the duplicates because, there was going to be some picture in there that you had to send grandpa and grandma or whatever the case, and my kids, there are a few books, like picture books, Shutterfly books.
Yeah.
From when they were babies.
Yeah.
And then I have thousands of photos and videos, but they're on my phone. or
Right.
on the cloud, you know. So if anything happens to me, like they're not going to see those
Right.
probably, you know. But what I was the same way, always there, and not just photos of myself even, but just looking at
Oh yeah.
watching the history of my family, of my parents as kids, of their parents, and
Hmm.
um, you know, there are some pictures of me that exist where I'm like, how did no one call Child Protective Services? This child should not have been in public, like. but the but now, you know, at the time I can see like, yeah, I can see why Val only had 2 friends at school or something, you know. And but now those are funny, and those are definite
Right. Right.
icebreakers in conversation, especially my kids when they come across those photos. They're like, is that you?
What? Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunate.
Yes. That was me. I am the new and improved version
There
today.
you go.
So what would you say, like, where someone maybe should start with this if they have the thousands of photos and videos and it's overwhelming to them to even
Yeah.
think about? Like, it might be a great idea, but how do I even start?
Yeah. No, it is very overwhelming. I'm not even going to pretend that it's not, right? Like, and also, you know, I said earlier, like, I don't like to idealize this job because there's a lot of hard things. And I also don't want to give the impression of like, because I think sometimes this can come across because we're all mothers and we all experience this as like, I'm going to feel guilt now that I don't do this for my family. And I don't ever want that to be the message either, right? It's
Right.
more of, I want it to be more of a find what works for you and feel good enough for that, right? Like that's good enough for my family. And this is what I'm going to do. What I always tell people who contact me of like, I don't even know what to do. My kids are 15. How do I even do this? I always suggest to start with the most recent year because it's fresh on your mind and it's easy to find, right? It's going to be sitting all right there. You don't have to go dig through anything. You don't have to think like, oh, when did this happen? Is this really important to me? Right? Like it's just there. So always start with the first year. And once you start with the first year, then you kind of get your feet wet, you get a system and you make it work for yourself. I say start with the first year and do 1 month a night, or if that's too much, do 1 month a week, right? Like do a couple little bits every week for January and then a couple, little bits for February every week, and move yourself, like make a calendar, make some kind of system for yourself and use that and do your first year that way. But then also there's lots of resources out there. Like there are professional photo organizers that exist in the world, which is a great job that we have connections to, that we can hook people up with, of like their whole job is to organize your camera roll, organize your cloud, organize your external hard drives, and get all that in a good place for you to then come to a company like us where we can help you do that. There's great photo books out there, like chat books that are so simple. You upload 60 photos and you're done. But it's just finding a system, like I said, a system that is easy enough to put something out there for yourself that you feel good enough about. And whether or not that's making videos, then okay, right? Like I just want families to experience the joy that this has brought hundreds and hundreds of other families in my own family. And they can do that however they need to.
Yeah. How would you respond to someone who is like, I would love to have these documented, but am I ever going to go back and look at them, or are they just going to take up space somewhere?
I would say, I think it would just be, that's a question that I can't answer for you. Like you have to know, like, do you really want it? And I think there are people in this world, and that's great, who they're not going to, right? Or their kids aren't going to enjoy it. And that's fine too, right? Like I think we exist in this space for those memory maximalists, right? Those people who did sit in their mom's bedroom and look through all the photos and they love that, and that brings them so much joy. But we're not for the people who don't see that that's going to add anything to their life, or that they're going to spend all this money and then it's just going to sit there on their phone. Like to be honest, like I wouldn't even want them to do that, because that just wouldn't even be a good, not that I wouldn't want to edit for them, but that I want them to find value in something that's important to them, right? Not just because I'm telling them.
That's such a gracious answer, because I would probably say something like, well, it's not about you.
Yeah.
Like, what if your kids want to look at it?
Yeah, I mean, there's that too.
No, that's fantastic. And so how have you seen in your own family, especially, but also maybe from feedback that you've gotten from the people the families that you've done this for, how it has really kind of like elevated their experience or maybe their desire to create more memories?
Yeah, I think first in my own life, it is definitely like a compounding interest type of deal, right? Like you make one and then then you want to make more. So then you're looking for more ways you can record your kids, more things you can do together, more ways that you are like having a different perspective. Like I always use the example of, what some of my favorite videos that I have of my kids are the ways that they've like progressed through their life. Of like, I have a video of my daughter, like pulling on her shoes to go to school when she's in preschool. And then like 2 years later, I have a video of her tying her shoes before she goes out the door to school. Or there's some videos like my kids and I have a routine of like every time or the last day of school, we go to Target and we get Slurpees and popcorn and pick out a toy for the summer, like an outside toy. And so I take a video of that every year or a photo of them like at the icy machine. And it's fun to like see how much taller they've gotten. They're still choosing the same flavor every time, but like, so there's still some things that never change, but they are
Yeah.
still changing. And I think a lot of the feedback that we get from clients is just the perspective that this gives them. Like we've talked about before, like when they're in a grind, when they're having a hard time, they'll watch them and it will give them back those feelings of like, oh yeah, I do love my children, right? Like, oh yeah, I do want to be a mom, right? Like I do like love them and want to do these things with them. I think that's probably the most common email that we get, of just like the joy that it brings them and the perspective, the positive perspective that it returns them to, like the centeredness, right, of it all.
Absolutely. And I I have been encouraging people to just write things down
Yeah.
about their day as I've been reading through these columns of mine. Like there are things I would never remember
Yeah.
otherwise, but because I wrote it down and can go back and read it, I'm so glad I did that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. However, you can find a way to preserve that moment in time. Like that's the best way to do it. Like I know people that do like a one line journal a day, and they just write one line about their day. I've never been a memory preserver that way, so that never works for me. I've tried and I've failed, so I'm like, forget it. I'm not even gonna do it anymore. But yeah, all of that stuff. Or like, I love to keep a running note in my phone of all the funny things my kids say, because I will never remember them.
Right.
And then we'll go through and read them sometimes, and they think it's hilarious, and they love to read the things that they've said. But yeah, you're never going to. You're not going to remember. You're just not. And to have the thought that you will remember it. I mean, props to you if someone thinks they will, but I don't. Like you just get so stuck going forward that it just goes away.
Yeah, and you are lying to yourself if you think that's a thing. And it's like really, it doesn't matter how you remember it. Like I love writing, and writing is my jam. So if I want to write things down, sure. But also don't underestimate those little snapshots that you take throughout the day. Like if you look up and you're like, oh, that's so sweet, take a picture real quick.
Yep.
And even on the hard days, the tough days, the tragic life events, like those are things that you will appreciate having a record of in some form later on in your life. And so even if you're thinking like, I'll remember, first of all, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
Or if you're thinking it's not worth it because X, you're also lying to yourself because it's such a treasure for your own mom heart to be encouraged in, how far you've come since or whatever the case.
Right.
But also that legacy for your kids. Your kids, Kalee, will be able to look back at these videos and be like, look at the life we had. Look at the life our parents shaped for us.
Yeah. That's my hope, right? I hope that, when they grow up, they'll have their entire lives documented for them. And, even if they grow up and they move out and they don't want those things, I have them. Like, I hope I'm going to live to be 80 or 90 and I will still be watching that stuff, right? Like it's as much it is for them, it's for us too, like we deserve some things to keep us going, to make us happy, and, to remind us about how hard this is, how hard we're working, and we all are really just doing our best, and that's good, right? Like we're doing good things for our families.
Yeah, that's so good. And I would also add, you may even go through a stage, or your children may go through a stage where they're like, yeah, I don't want that. Keep it anyway.
Right.
because they will also enter into a stage where they're like, I wish I had that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you can say, surprise.
Yeah.
My sister is a keeper and I am a tosser. And
Mm,
there are so many times where I have told her, I am so glad you kept this.
yeah. Yes.
You know?
Yes. We actually just went through that with my in-laws. They had their 45th wedding anniversary last summer. And so I tried to find as many of their home videos as I could. And my mother-in-law was like, yeah, I think I just threw that stuff away because there was no way to watch it. And I was like, no, I still was able to find some stuff, but like there
Yeah.
was just huge, huge gaps.
Yeah.
Because she had the thought of like, well, I'm never going to watch that again. Or I don't want, the boys aren't, she has 4 boys. She's like, the boys are never going to want that. And I'm like, I want that, like my
Yeah.
kids, oh my God, my kids love, and their cousins love to see their uncles and their dads, on recorded on screen. And like, but yeah, it's such a good point. It's like, just because in that moment, it doesn't feel like they want it, do not, just hold it, put it in a box and put it in the garage and just wait. Because I'm sure the day will come.
Yeah. And I promise you it will.
Yeah.
I promise you it will come. And of course there's, the age and stage of childhood where I won't call it self-absorption, even though that's what it is, but we'll say like self-interest. Maybe.
There you go. Self-love.
And I can see how that would increase the confidence because it's not just that there's a picture of them, but it's that you invested that moment. You invested in documenting that moment because it mattered to you as their parent. I can totally see how that would build their self-esteem and their sense of worth and their strength in the family unit.
Right. Yeah. Their contribution and to feel valued and loved. Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I want to ask you about this. You started this, 7 years ago or so. What has this done for your family, for the legacy of your kids, to have entered into this, to have pursued this, something that was just an idea and is now a business with a team of 8 people helping you? What has that done for your household?
Oh gosh, so much. It's given us it gave me the ability to stay at home with them, even though I'm not the best stay at home mom. So I got to be flexible and be at home, but also have value, like feel like I had some value and work, right, to do.
Yeah.
That the flexibility that it gave our family was amazing. It gave us a lot more financial freedom than we had ever had before, which I am so, so thankful for. It allowed, it's really just never ending. It allowed my husband to go through a huge career transition because I had stable work and we were able to work through all of that together. It's just been the best thing that has ever happened to our family. And I am so, so thankful for it. And even just in like, not even counting the emotional impact it's had, because it's given me more motivation to record our kids and make videos of our family, but it's just on the work side of things, the value that it's given us is exponential. And I hope, and I'm working really hard to make sure that, we're around for a long time to keep, providing for my family and also providing this service to people, because I don't see digital media going away anytime soon, hopefully. Yeah. Hopefully AI doesn't come and kick us out. We'll see.
Maybe it will happen, just a matter of time. Who knows? Right. But so I want to talk about the music side of things.
Yeah.
Do the people get to pick what kind of music? Do you just decide what goes with it? Is it a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. We use only legally licensed music. So because we want people to be able, one, I don't want to get in trouble. And two, we want people to be able to share all of this on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media channels their family uses. And that way it won't get taken down because it's legal. I have spent years and hours curating not hundreds of thousands, hundreds to thousands of playlists of music that we think fits the feel of these videos. We have access, our clients have access, so if they want to choose their own music from those playlists and libraries, they can. But most people do choose to just let us pick, because after 10,000 videos edited, it's like second nature to like. Right. I skim a couple videos, I'm like, yep, all right, I'm doing this song, and it's usually a perfect fit.
Yeah. So how you mentioned that you're on Instagram. How else can people find you? How can they learn more? How can they pursue this for something that they want to do for their family?
Yeah, we're on Instagram. That's probably the most active. That is the most active place we are. And then also we have a website, isbellfamilyfilms.com, that lays out all of the different packages that we offer, ordering, all of that, FAQ, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant what
Thank
you've
you.
done. And I will tell my listeners, like, these entrepreneur mamas, let's go support them every way we can.
Yes.
I mean, it's building such a legacy for families, and your kids are seeing creativity and work ethic all being displayed in one place. And I think that's so critical. And so I'm all about it. And if you are listening, check the show notes. I'll have all of Kalee's links down there so that you can find her easily with the click of a button. Kalee, thank you so much for being a guest on the Motherhood Experience.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was great. I love talking to you.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Motherhood Experience podcast. To join our exclusive TME community, head over to themotherhoodexperience.com/learn more. Be sure to follow the Motherhood Experience on Facebook or Instagram, and please leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, leave us a comment below, and we'll catch you next time.